Senator Whitehouse joins me now. Senator, it's good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Good to be with you.
Thanks so much. Before I get into Todd Blanche, I just want to ask you about Abdul El-Sayed, who is now the Democratic nominee for Senate in Michigan. If I'm not mistaken, you are a very longtime supporter of Medicare for All, one of his central campaign issues. Are you going to be endorsing him? Forgive me if I've missed it. And will you campaign with him?
I'll do whatever is best for a Democratic victory. That's our real goal. The one thing I would point out is that as important as the Michigan seat is, we also have races coming up with our candidates either tied or ahead or very close in Maine and North Carolina and South Carolina, in Alaska, Ohio, Iowa, Texas, Mississippi, and Florida. We have a wide field. This is a little bit like the first race I won back in 2006, where we picked up 10 seats in a flood against an incompetent president who led America into an unwelcome war. So we have a lot of room to gain, and I intend to work to gain as many of those seats as we can.
All right, let's talk about Todd Blanche, because the nomination has advanced to the full Senate now, and Susan Collins says she's not going to vote to confirm him, but that's about it so far in terms of Republican opposition. Do you see anything at all that could block his path to confirmation?
Well, you know, Republicans have for a long time purported to care a lot about the Epstein Files. And as your clip showed, the guy was a disaster with the Epstein Files. He's still covering up material that we know he has. Agents' notes supporting FBI 302s from a witness who said Donald Trump sexually and physically assaulted her when she was about 14 years old. So I don't know how you turn away from that and expect to get away with it. He also screwed up the document production so badly that victims of Epstein's depravity had their photographs, their addresses, their names all released, many for the first time. So that's a huge burden on him. And if Republicans vote for that, that's a whole new line of attack on them. They now own this guy in November. So
not to mention, Senator, forgive me for interrupting you, but the way the Ghislaine Maxwell thing was handled as well. And I just want to ask you about
that was a defense interview, not an investigative interview. And the defendant that they were protecting was Donald Trump.
Your criticism over his handling of the Epstein Files includes New Mexico suing Blanche, to get the unredacted files. And the claim is that the federal government blocked the state's ability to investigate crimes committed by the disgraced financier in 1993. What can Congress do to get these unredacted files to state authorities at this point?
Well, that's the New Mexico Attorney General.
Right.
Who has brought the lawsuit against the Department of Justice because he's seeing such unprecedentedly terrible cooperation with the Department of Justice. Usually when a state attorney general, I was our state's attorney general, is pursuing an investigation and seeks assistance from the federal government, that comes willingly. And in this case, the Department of Justice under Blanche has clammed up and is not helping the New Mexico Attorney General with respect to the property that Epstein owned in New Mexico and whatever misconduct might have taken place out there. So that's yet another aspect of the Blanche cover-up of the Epstein matter. And again,
is there anything, Senator, that you all can do to get those files to the authorities there?
No, not if the Attorney General is unwilling to obey the law, not if he's unwilling to respond to our request, and particularly not when we have Republican-controlled House and Senate committees, which could force it, but don't want to because they're terrorized by Trump and they won't do their jobs properly. So it really is going to take the election to kick some of this loose, and new gavels in new hands in the House and in the Senate.
I saw the letter on another topic that you and Senator Heinrich sent about the reflecting pool, and you requested that the Office of the Inspector General investigate what employees of the Department of the Interior knew and when they knew it regarding the peeling of the coating, other engineering issues at the memorial. If the Department of Interior employees ended up withholding evidence from Jeanine Pirro's office, if the IG finds anything, is there any kind of accountability that we could see there?
Yeah, quite a lot. actually, and particularly in court proceedings. The supposed vandal, the Olympian, Mr. Hearn, has just filed a new pleading in that case, charging ethics violations against the prosecutors and against the Department of the Interior, asking for grand jury transcripts, pointing out evidence that they had of his innocence before they charged him, and saying very directly that the office, Pirro's office, violated ethics rules with respect to the way they talked about him in the press and with respect to the way they conducted his case in bad faith and for political motives. So that's very, very rough stuff. And considering where this case is, I think that investigation will continue. And these questions about the Department of Interior's conduct will continue to be pursued. There's a chain of lies that goes from the individual park police officers at the scene all the way up to the Oval Office. And in that chain, finding out who lied, who was told to lie, all of that stuff is super important for the Department of Interior to get right, to discharge what are called giglio obligations, an obligation that they have to disclose incidences of dishonesty by officials who may have to testify. It's part of the sort of Brady exculpatory evidence stuff. So they have a real obligation to find out who lied, who knew what, and when they knew it. And Senator Heinrich and I have put the Interior Department Inspector General on the case. I think they recognize that they have to look into this.
Well, please do let us know what you find out there. And for anybody who hasn't seen your full remarks to the Judiciary Committee yesterday, I encourage everybody to do that. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, it's great to see you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.